Hey everybody, I am here with Jeff Goins, writer of books and blogs, teacher, and just generally inspiring guy as far as I'm concerned. So thanks for spending some time with me here, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
So you had a book that launched yesterday, and I want to talk to you about a blog post and specifically that really was inspiring to me. But why don't you share just a minute about you and this book that you've released?
Sure. Well, it's called The In-Between, and it is about the space that we all know in between big moments
Hmm.
in life. And so I think we all understand what it's like to wait for something big to happen, wait for the next milestone or dream job
Hmm.
or chance to travel or whatever it is. And so what I found in my own life, I just turned 30, and so I was kind of looking back at the last 10 years of early adulthood, and I realized I'm spending most of my time waiting for something else
Hmm.
to happen,
Hmm.
and I'm missing the moments that are right in front of me.
Yeah.
And so as I started recapping some significant stories from my life, I realized that I remember these things as being more extraordinary than they really were or than they really
Right.
felt while they were happening.
Yeah.
And I looked back at all of these big moments in my life and realized there were a lot of smaller moments that led up to these big moments that in many ways were more significant than the milestone itself. Anyway, this
Hmm.
is a book that sort of explores the idea, what if all of this stuff, all of these throwaway moments of waiting, what if this is actually the good stuff in
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
and those big moments are kind of the cherry on top. And there's
Yeah.
this great quote that I opened the book with from Annie Dillard, where she says, "How we spend our days is how we spend our lives."
Hmm.
And I realized I was spending my days and therefore my life waiting for something else
Hmm.
to happen instead of enjoying what was right in front of me. And so this is a book that I hope will help people live more in the moment, embrace inconveniences and delays and interruptions, and learn how to be grateful for
Yeah.
what's right in front of them.
Man, that's good. That's important. And so I was excited once I heard about the book, and then I heard someone else yesterday say it was a quick read, and those are
Yeah.
like magic words for me because like I have a long list of books that I want to read but
Sure.
never seem to get around to. So when I hear the words quick read, it's like, oh, I can get into this and tackle it. So
Yeah.
I was very excited about that. So I look forward to reading it as well.
Cool. Yeah, I've
Um,
had a couple of friends say that they've read it in one sitting, which
yeah.
is which I think is kind of a compliment.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, to be able to sit there and get through the material and really sort of absorb it. Yeah, that's really neat. So
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you. I don't mean for this to be off topic because that's kind of a big deal, but I really wanted to talk to you about this Shy Guy's Guide.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
when I read that, I was waiting for my wife in the hospital cafeteria. She works there. There wasn't a problem, but I was waiting for my wife in the cafeteria, reading this on my phone, and I couldn't not email you right then and there because I was like, I feel like he might have written this about me. Like I don't know if you've
Yeah.
been lurking in my closet or something. This was great about this idea of wanting to make connections and believing that relationships are important,
Yeah.
but having perhaps a struggle getting started or initiating things. And so why don't you just tell real quick? I mean, this thing was sort of sounds like the article or the essay was born out of this trip you took to Portland to the World Domination Summit.
Right. So yeah, I went to this event a few weeks ago in Portland, and I think I'm like on the line between introvert extrovert,
Hmm.
which means that I like being around people, but I really struggle to initiate conversation.
Hmm.
So as I was telling you before we started this interview, that I just had a big launch party for my book, and 90 of my closest friends and favorite people
Yeah.
came to this event, and so I know these people, and yet I'm a little bit like nervous to go around and say hi to
Yeah.
everybody, just because that's awkward for me.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of this. I don't like being by myself. I like being around people, but I struggle to initiate. And so I was going to this conference of 3,000 people. I was going there to meet people.
Hmm.
I know that meeting people is good. Relationships are great. I'm pro
Yeah.
relationship, but I struggle with initiating that,
Yeah.
without feeling awkward. And so I kind of tend to like wallflower or
Hmm.
like stumble into something.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. So essentially what I did was I emailed I don't know, about 5 to 10 people that I
Hmm.
wanted to connect with at the conference over 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And I just said, "Hey, I'd love to meet you. Um, here's I'm totally open. So, tell me what your schedule is, and I'll try to find a time
Yeah.
and meet you wherever you want. And so what that allowed me to do is it allowed me to go enjoy the event, and then a couple of things were kind of spontaneous, but I had several like planned meetings with
Hmm.
people where we would just duck out of like maybe one of the speaking sessions or something and spend an hour or two together having coffee, hanging
Yeah.
out, doing whatever. Which I really think I've gone to lots of conferences and it was like kind of a smorgasbord of connections, and I
Yeah.
felt like very superficial. And
Hmm.
so I started trying to connect intentionally with just a few people at these
Yeah.
kinds of events. And I found personally, when you go into any sort of event, a party, a conference, whatever, if you're a little bit shy and you're not like the life of the party kind of guy, and I'm definitely the shyer side, it's good to have a plan. And so I
Yeah.
went in with a plan, and I executed it. I mean, I think I out of those, I think there was probably 8 or 9 people that I reached out to. I hung out with like 7 of them,
Yeah.
and so
That's great.
it was really effective, and it removed a lot of the anxiety for me of having to walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, I like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we talk? Can we be friends?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I love the intentionality of that because I'm the guy who will, and so I'm talking to you from Fairbanks, Alaska right now.
right.
So
Wow.
I'm fairly removed from where all these conferences happen. So
Sure.
when I travel to a conference, I'm making a fairly large investment of time and effort to get there.
Yeah.
And I'll get there, and if something isn't just, doesn't present itself, I'm the guy who's like, well, I think I'm going to go back to my room for a while because it's like the
Yeah.
anxiety and the tension is
Sure.
uncomfortable for me. So
Uh
I
huh.
love the idea of having not only having a plan in your mind, but having connected with people before, so there's no escape plan. I mean, it's like we've agreed to do this, and there's someone
Yeah.
else that is connected to that to make sure that I follow through, even if it's uncomfortable when I get there, and it's like, oh, I got to go meet this person. Um, and have you found that in doing so, you're surprised by the number of people who are willing to spend time to do that?
Absolutely. So,
Yeah,
as I was saying, like I think probably 90% of the people that I reached out
yeah,
to said yes, and I connected with them.
yeah,
And there were a couple that was just like we just didn't have time or
yeah,
it just didn't work. But yeah, I'm like you, where like I might have the best of intentions of going up to somebody, but then if I see there's a whole crowd around
yeah,
them, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be another one of those
yeah,
people.
yeah,
And so, I used to go to concerts all the time, as a
yeah,
teenager, and I still do. But especially as a teenager, you go to these big music festivals, and these bands would play, and then afterwards they'd have a big long line of
yeah,
fans, and I was like, I'm not doing that,
yeah.
like no, I never asked for an autograph. I never wanted to be that guy.
Uh huh.
And I think I learned this from my dad. My dad has a way of connecting with. First of all, he just has this crazy luck where he'll just run into famous people. Like he met Walter Payton of the
Uh huh.
Chicago Bears at a
Yeah,
gas station. For whatever reason, I mean, he's just really good at going deep with people and
yeah.
becoming really good friends with folks. And he runs a restaurant, and everybody that meets my dad feels like they're his best friend,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the kind of guy that he is. And I always admired that about him, about his ability to not just know a lot of people, but be able to make those deep
Yeah,
connections.
yeah.
And I like doing that much more than just having a bunch of surface level
Sure.
friends or connections. And so I try to do that in my own life, both with old friends as well as new acquaintances, and try to go deep with fewer people than
Mm-hmm.
do kind of the shotgun approach.
Yeah,
And so yeah, when I go to conferences and stuff, and there's a big long line of people, I'm going to be the guy who goes, I don't want to do that.
yeah,
So if I contact somebody ahead of time, as you said, I can't really get out of it.
yeah.
And in fact, there's this expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what happened at this last conference. I was meeting these people that were kind of famous to me,
Yeah.
but I'd already emailed them ahead of time, built this expectation that we were going to spend time
Mm-hmm.
together. And so when we ran into each other, they said, "Oh, hey, Jeff, like we need to get together."
Yeah,
And it was cool because I didn't have to awkwardly initiate that, which I'm not very good at.
yeah,
In a way, they were sort of wanting to seek me out.
yeah. Well, and you've already got the agreement too. So I mean, they know who
Right.
you are. They're expecting that you're not
There's
going to walk up. Like my biggest thing is if there's like 6 people standing around and there's somebody in that group I want to meet, my immediate like the internal talk is like, well, they're all talking. I'm going to walk up and they're going to be
Right.
like, who's this bozo?
That's
And
right. Yeah.
and
I
so,
know.
but they've already basically said, no, I'd like to hang out with you. I'd like to talk to you. So you can go in knowing that there's already agreement there. That they're not gonna, you're not gonna walk up to them. They're gonna be like, who are you and why would I care that you're here?
there's permission.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're in high school and you liked a girl, but you didn't want to. This is again a shy guy. You liked a girl and you didn't want to ask her out because you didn't want to be rejected.
Yeah.
But so you kind of like put some feelers out.
Yeah.
You know, and like your friends talk to her friends, and then finally you got where she likes you too.
Yeah.
Or if you asked her out, she might say yes.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, okay, I'm gonna go do that then. It's still a little scary to walk up to them.
Sure.
But there's some context. There's some sense that if I do this, they're probably going to be okay with it.
Yeah, it's not out of the blue. I love it. And so I would encourage. I'll put a link in the little write up here to that piece as well, because I would anyone who is either borderline or completely an introvert, I think would really, really appreciate and would identify a lot with what you're talking about. And it was kind of one of those things when I read it, I'm like, I have a feeling you know this. I don't know why I think that, but I have a feeling you know this, that when someone else reads that and identifies with it, it's like that confirmation that you're not alone. You're not like the one person who feels this way and everyone else has got it figured out. So it was kind of one of those great moments where it was just, confirmation that other people are dealing with this kind of stuff too, and then there are ways around it. There are ways to deal. So,
it's funny, Jeff, and maybe this is just the kind of people that I try to connect with, which are authors, speakers, communicators. A lot of these people are introverts too.
Yeah.
Just because you stand up on stage and you can talk to 1,000 people doesn't mean you're good at a party.
Yeah,
it just means it's very different.
Yeah.
And so what I have found that's really fascinating is when you go to the effort to make this not awkward for people that might share some of your shy or introverted tendencies, but they're on some sort of platform, it's kind of a gift to them because it removes that awkwardness for them too. Yeah. About half the people that I connected with at the conference said, I'm an introvert too in this, and I try to keep my distance from all these crowds because it overwhelms me. Yeah. But you asking me to coffee was totally cool because it's just two people hanging out.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something to consider that we don't think about. If you want to connect with somebody, you can remove some of that awkwardness because there's a 50-50 chance that they might be a little bit introverted too.
Yeah.
So
well, and I think you're certainly right about this idea between the stage and the group meeting kind of thing. Those are two totally different things. And I think in a lot of cases, when I'm gregarious in a group, it's a cover for the introvert. It's like like this is how I'm going to make myself feel comfortable. By operating in a certain way.
Yeah.
And someone else might read that as being, wow, he's so outgoing. He must just love to be around people all the time.
Compensation.
Nope, compensation.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to deal. So
yeah, that's right.
Well, I thank you so much for your time, Jeff. So,
my pleasure.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to know more?
Your
website,
my blog is goinswriter.com. My last name is Goins, like coins, but with a G, goinswriter.com. And, the email that you got was, through my newsletter, and so people can sign up for that there. It's totally free. And that's, all the other ways to connect with me, Facebook, Twitter, that's all on the blog at goinswriter.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I hope that people watching this will take the time to go read your work and to go buy the book.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's my pleasure.
No problem. You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.